Unfortunately, this has been a very difficult month for Klal Yisrael, beginning with the tragedy in Meron, and then the rockets from Gaza, another tragedy in Yerushalayim, Barkadin Stalin, and now rising anti-Semitism across the world. Rising anti-Semitism not just calling out Israel for their war crimes, but Rahman al-Tzlan calling for the death of Jews, something we haven't seen in decades. The Rebbeinu Shem should be matzel us, it shouldn't get any worse, but the Rambam tells us that when Klal Yisrael suffers, when Ra comes to our nation, we have to take ownership. We can't say that it's mikra. We can't say the political, the social explanations. We have to know that some way, somehow, we're garim. We're causing the Ra. And the Rambam tells us that if we don't react to it, we don't change, we don't do tshuva, we don't find something in our lives that needs to be different, Rachman al-Tzlan, we're achzor, we're cruel, because Rachman al-Tzlan, we could bring more pain, more difficulty, more tragedy. So we need to react. But there's another dimension of reaction besides the tshuva. And that's something which Rabbi Akiva teaches us. The Gemara tells us at the end of Makis, the four Tanoim, from Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar Azariah, Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva came to Yerushalayim, and they came up to the Har HaBayis. And when they saw the destruction, they saw the Churban, they raised Kriya. They tore their garments as Avelim, as mourners. And the three Tanoim, besides Rabbi Akiva, began to cry. Why? Because they saw shulim. They saw foxes running around by the Kochim, and they said, this is horrible. This is the depth of the destruction. And they noticed Rabbi Akiva's laughing. Laughing? Rabbi Akiva, what are you laughing about? Rabbi Akiva told them, or he asked them, why are you crying? They said, we shouldn't cry. This mokum, where it says, Hazar b'karv yumas, that when a zar, a non-kohen, a Yisrael, a Levi, a Talmud Chochem, but he's not a kohen, when he goes on this place, he's chayv misa, and now we see foxes running around, we shouldn't cry? Rabbi Akiva said, that's why I'm laughing. What does that mean? Then Rabbi Akiva says in the Nevuah says the Uriah, who was in the first bias, and Zachariah in the second bias, are mentioned in the same pasuk. That's Rabbi Akiva, they have nothing to do with each other. Why are they mentioned together? Explains Rabbi Akiva that the Nevuahs, these prophecies between the two Batei Mikdoshim, are really connected to each other. Why? Because just like the Churban is described in the Nevuah of Uriah, so too the Yeshua is described in the Nevuah of Zechariah. Says Rabbi Akiva, until I saw the destruction in all of its terribleness, horrifulness, till I saw it, the Yeshua was not ready to come. Rabbi Akiva tells us a very important insight. He tells us that in the Churban, in the difficulty, in the tzara, you're able to see the Chasdei Hashem. The question is, why didn't the other Tanoim see that? They were Gedolei Olam. They were the Gedolei Tanoim. They were of the greatest Talmudic sages. Why didn't they Rabbi Akiva tell them that? I think the answer lies in another Gemara. The Gemara in Brachos. Brachos tells us a story of Rabbi Akiva. He came to a city, and he was staying outside. He couldn't find a place to lodge in the city, so he went out to the forest. He had his donkey, he had his chicken, he had his torch. He needed these tools of survival: the donkey to ride on, the chicken to wake him up in the morning, and the torch to be able to see at night. What happened? The light went out. The chicken got eaten by a cat. The donkey got eaten by a lion. And each time Rabbi Akiva said, Kol devrach bona tavovit. Everything that Baruch Hashem does is good. Even though, at the time, it was horrible. Rabbi Akiva knew that Chasdei Hashem, the Baruch Hashem loves Yidden so much, that even the Ra, which we're perceiving as Ra, is Tov. Kol de'ovid rachmona, anything that Baruch Hashem does, the tav of it is good. And perhaps that's why he was able to look at the Churban HaBayis and see the same destruction they saw. He also raised Kriya. He also tore his garments as an oval. But he was able to see, he was able to peer into the truth, to know that even in the Ra, even in the destruction, is the salvation, is that solo. And so too we need to do the same. At the same time, when we're looking at the situation and knowing that we have to react, we have to change because the Rebbeinu Shem is speaking to us. At that same moment, we have to understand that in this korban, in this difficulty we're experiencing right now, a month, a slew of difficulties for Klal Yisrael, is toiv. You'll find the toiv, I'll find the toiv. A couple of ideas. First of all, we're seeing an achdus in Eretz Yisrael amongst Yidden we haven't seen in a long time. The Jews are coming together because they have a common enemy. And that's forcing them to come together. Jews are speaking more about the Gula now. I was told the story of someone who was looking for an apartment in Rabat Beit Shemesh where the real estate prices are sky high. And he wanted to bargain about an apartment that he wanted to rent. And the real estate agent texted him back. He said, bargain? Price go down? The Gula's coming. The price is only going up. The Gula's coming. Baruch Shalom wants to force us into becoming what we need to be, that we should be ready for that Gula B'ez Hashem Yisborach. Should be able to see the Toiv and the Ra, because there is no Ra. It's all Toiv. Baruch Hashem Shav Rachmanis on us. It shouldn't take more for us to see it.